and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. We want to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. Thank you for standing with us as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Today's Issues is the name of this show, and it's Thursday, November the 16th, 2023. Again, we appreciate you. Joining me in studio is Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Good morning, Tim.
And Christopher Woodward.
Good morning.
And let's see, Monica Cole from 1 Million Moms will be along in just a few minutes. She has a petition that's going viral, so to speak. 1 Million Moms is a ministry under our umbrella here, which engage ladies, women, moms in activism having to do with issues that relate to influencing children primarily. So we're going to, that is the left's ideas that influencing children through the media. And she has a warning about the upcoming Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Great American Tradition. Well, get ready, because this year they're going to try to, they got some stuff in store that you don't want your children exposed to.
Right.
So we're going to talk to Monica about that in just a few moments. Anything you guys want to say or share before we ask Chris to introduce us to the first depressing news story?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll. I do want to let our listeners know that at the bottom of the hour, we will have be discussing with a representative from Samaritan's Purse about Operation Christmas Child, the shoebox.
Okay.
Program. The ministry outlet that they have going. That's
program sounds really boring. You're going to have to come up with something else.
It's a campaign.
A campaign.
Christmas campaign.
The
Christmas
shoebox
campaign.
Extravaganza.
Yes. Outreach. There you go. The shoebox.
I think it's
outreach.
It's an outreach that is also an extravaganza. No.
Extravaganza. Though, that makes it sound like you're going shopping. On Black Friday.
Okay.
It's an extravaganza. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway,
all right,
outreach extravaganza program campaign.
Right.
Our folks know what we're talking about.
Right. All right. So we'll talk to them about that. I want to know how many millions of these shoeboxes have been distributed
over whatever it is, 25 years or something.
Millions.
Yeah, 30. All right, Chris. What's leading the news this morning?
At least 6 police officers in Washington, D.C. were injured last night in a mostly violent protest outside DNC headquarters there in Washington, D.C.
What's a DNC headquarters?
Mostly violent protest.
You've been waiting to say that. We're talking about the Democrat National Committee's
headquarters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this doesn't involve Richard Nixon at all.
It does not. It does not. But a lot of people that are calling for what they're saying a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas showed up there last night to demand Democrats and other legislators do something to get a ceasefire. When police showed up for crowd control, that's when protesters there decided to have a confrontation with various police officers. It was difficult to get some audio here due to language, but I have just about 12 seconds just to kind of bring people up to speed if you're not familiar with the scene that I'm describing here. Clip 1.
Okay. What you got in Washington, D.C. last night was several hundred people. These, if you look at them, they look like the same bunch during the BLM riots and the Antifa riots. The reason you want to know, well, why are they at the Democrat National Committee headquarters? Because they are angry with Biden, who's a Democrat, President Biden, and they're angry at the Democrat Schumer, for example, the head of the Senate, the Democrat, those who support Israel. That's what they're angry about. That's what they're protesting. And they're protesting. What they were trying to do right there, they were trying to burst into the Democrat National Committee headquarters. I don't know what they were going to do when they got there, when they got inside, but that's what the police were trying to stop.
Yes.
And the police were confronting them, had to arrest some. 6 police officers, they say, were injured.
Yes.
In this. Now, contrast these few hundred people with the 300,000 plus, they say, that showed up at the pro-Israel rally 2 days ago in Washington, D.C. 2 days ago? Is that right?
It was.
In Washington, D.C., with no reported incidents of violence.
That's right.
Okay? And you say, so I would ask you, Ed, why the contrast?
Well, first of all, thanks to Chris for that audio, which had to have a lot of things edited out. That wasn't easy. Sounded to me kind of like an extravaganza.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, a
far left violent extravaganza.
And I'll tell you what, trying to break into the DNC kind of sounds like an insurrection to me. All right. Anyway, all that kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff aside, here's the difference between the group that showed up in favor of Israel and this group, which I'm guessing probably does include a lot of the same people who were at the BLM protests and the Antifa riots, because I think these kinds of people are professionals. They are professional rioters. You remember in ancient Israel,
rent-a-rider?
Yeah, it's in ancient Israel 2,000 years ago. If you had a funeral, you rented mourners. They did. They rented mourners, and the more mourners you had when you had a family member die, the bigger impression you made. And that's what these people are, I believe. They are rented. It's like rent-a-cops, okay?
Yeah.
You make fun of that. They're rent-a-rioters. It's hard to say that.
Yeah.
And the proof of that is the very fact that they were at the DNC indicates that all they wanted to do was riot, because there's nothing the DNC can do.
This is after hours, too. They're closed.
Yeah.
I mean,
what is the DNC supposed to do? This is Israel taking care of its business against a group, Hamas, that attacked them. Yes. What's the Democratic National Committee supposed to do? So all they wanted to do is destroy stuff, which is what we saw in the summer of 2020. Yeah.
Also, these riders last night, they don't have jobs, I don't think.
That's why I say they're professional rioters.
Right. With I remember seeing a funny, it was dark humor, sort of. Anyway, this was a funny, back during the BLM and the Antifa riots.
Right.
When was that?
Summer of 2020.
2020. Anyway, I remember seeing something happened, and they said, Republicans, we need to riot. We need to riot because look what the left does. And they said, okay, we're going to riot tomorrow at 3 o'clock at so-and-so, and Bill's bringing the drinks.
Right.
And somebody, and then another person said, I'm ready to riot, but I can only stay 30 minutes because I got to pick up the kids from school.
Exactly right.
But
they're doing working stuff and family stuff.
Right.
Unlike these.
It is your full-time job, according to Abe.
Right.
Anyway, the other one said, we need some rider clothes because all I got is khakis and I got to go buy the cleaners at 2:30. I just don't know if I can make it or not. Anyway.
But that's the truth. These people who show up all over the country, my belief is, I haven't done I'm sure there's a way to try to follow the money.
All you have to do is look at them, Ed.
Funded, yeah, or other lefties.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not funny what happened last night. These people are violent. Thank goodness there's not very many of them. And now they're attacking the Democrats more than the Republicans because I guess you got Schumer, who's a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
However, you mentioned Schumer.
Yeah.
We've got some audio of Schumer, who was asked about this riot last night. I want you to listen to what he had to say. Cut number 3.
I wondered if I could get your reaction to what we saw happening at the DNC this evening with protesters.
Yeah, I haven't really seen it because I've been so busy with keeping the government open and getting NDAA done. So I'll have to comment tomorrow. Yes.
But just to follow up on that, 6 U.S. Capitol Police officers were injured this evening.
I'm not going to comment till I see the details.
Violent?
You can't comment on cops,
on riots.
No,
Capitol Police officers?
Schumer just did a Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. See nothing, I know nothing.
I see.
So he's going to comment tomorrow, you said?
Yeah, don't hold your breath on that one.
Right.
Listen, on a slightly more serious note, 6 Capitol Police officers were injured.
Yeah.
Going back to January 6th, there are people being sentenced to years in prison for doing that, for injuring
Capitol Police officers?
Yes.
That's a very good point. We'll see what happens with these people. But how many were arrested? Do we know?
One
arrest.
One arrest.
6 cops injured, 1 arrest.
Yes.
So
Okay, so I have not seen the footage of the
you're like Schumer
rioting, and so I still will comment
tomorrow.
No, I'll comment right now.
Okay.
Unlike Senator Schumer. Okay, I've not seen. So, how did these 6 police officers get hurt? Just trying to keep people from getting in?
What? Yeah, you need to go watch the video. It takes you about a minute. But what it is, it's these. They look like they're about all dressed in black.
Mm-hmm.
They
faces covered.
Some of them, but they're like at the building of the DNC at the doors, the entry doors, and they're trying to. Well, how would you describe it? They're trying to smash their way in.
Yeah, it looks like if you were trying to storm a building, this is what it would look like. If you're
I personally could not storm a building, just me. But all right. So
the cops
police
are trying to stop them
from doing that.
And they're vandalizing the building.
I'm surprised they. Again, I'm going to have to watch the video. It's only 60 seconds long.
Viewer discretion is advised.
May not be able to answer my question, but I don't know why they didn't have enough police to start hauling away. I've seen pictures. Yeah. I've not seen the videos. I want to make that clear. I thought I saw pictures of them arresting people, but I don't know why.
More than one.
More than one, but I don't know why only one person.
I have shared a link. It's an ABC story to Fred's point that
did you share
one person. I do. I'm a sharing person.
Okay, you shared it.
When you have a PhD in doom and gloom, you find ways to be positive.
Okay. So, have we posted anything? Where'd you get that story?
As far as the one arrest?
Yeah.
From ABC.
Okay.
And I just shared the link.
All right. So that's what happened last night in Washington, D.C. You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Well, you have the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade coming up, which is an American tradition that we've all enjoyed, I think, over the decades. Well, this next Thursday, a week from today will be the annual Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. Monica Cole is in studio with us. She's director of 1 Million Moms, which is under the umbrella here of American Family Association. And Monica, first of all, what's the mission of 1 Million Moms? And I want to talk about this Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Well, 1 Million Moms, what we do is we alert parents of inappropriate content, whether it's on television, in storefront windows, in the movies, you name it, anything that's going to be exploiting our children to inappropriate content. We alert them primarily in the media, and we allow a resource, a tool with our website, 1millionmoms.com, where they can take action and let their voice be heard there.
You have a Facebook page that is very popular and a website. Give both of those.
Yes, at 1millionmoms.com, and then you can go from there to our Facebook page or just type in 1 Million Moms on Facebook. Sometimes they hide it, but you can go through our website to get there.
Okay, what about this Thanksgiving Day Macy's Parade petition that you put out has gone viral now because I saw stories even on international news about it. So tell us what are you warning about?
We're warning parents to let them know that there's going to be not one but two binary actors that are going to be performing in Broadway show type performances during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And both of these non-binary actors.
What does non-binary mean for the average person?
They are born biologically a male, but they perform and dress up as
They're
female.
drag queens.
Exactly. They dress up in dresses and makeup, and they are
Men in drag is going to be a big part of
this family tradition.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
So
we're
that's what
warning
you're warning.
parents
Okay.
that it's not the family-friendly entertainment that we once knew. They're disguising this parade and entertainment to exploit families with the LGBTQ agenda. And we're just warning parents and then letting them know if they'd like to speak out, they can sign the petition letting Macy's know they will not be watching this year's parade.
Where do you go to do that?
At 1millionmoms.com. We have it as the top campaign currently, and there's over 31,000 signatures already, and it's steadily growing.
Yeah. What? So this is a obvious question. What Macy's is responsible for this?
Yes, this is
Or
their
NBC or who? What's the television network's going to air it?
Well,
NBC.
NBC's airing it, but Macy's the sponsor. It is their parade they put on every year, and they have for 100 years. And so it's no longer family friendly. It's going to be on for several hours on Thanksgiving Day when everybody's going to be with family and having family time.
Yeah, people have it on the TV in the den while they're getting ready for Thanksgiving. So,
Right.
And usually you don't think anything about letting your children watch that.
Right.
I mean,
Because
there's
it's
there's
big
Snoopy
big balloons.
Yeah, the big floats, and it's going to be at least in the background. Even if you're not sitting down watching, it's going to be in the background.
Right.
The children will be watching while parents are visiting or preparing.
Do you know what
lunch.
they're going to be doing, the drag queens? Are they going to be dancing around? Or
They're Broadway type musicals. Anne Juliet, and the other one's Shucked. And the reason why I was talking about a transgender and non-binary extravaganza is because that usually has to do with musical performances when they exceed appropriate spending and it costs too much to. This is an expensive type of entertainment if you think about it, and they're pushing this agenda and being politically correct when they should be remaining neutral and just focusing on what they always do.
This
and
is
just,
a family show,
clean,
and with tradition, and parents trust it. Macy's,
they do,
and to throw, drag queens in the middle of it is just very insidious.
It is. It's not one, it's two. So even if you think you can skip one, you've got another one you don't know when it's going to appear, and it's really hard to avoid when you're going to be as a mom. You're going to be busy.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving
so
Day.
they're going to be promoting Broadway shows.
Yes,
that's
there's
what these
two.
are.
Yes.
Okay. There's two.
Anne Juliet.
Okay.
Starts with Anne Juliet. The other one's Shucked, and we have that on our website at 1millionmoms.com. Okay. And we just wanted parents to be forewarned.
1 million. Go ahead, Ed.
I just wanted to say, Monica, I am a little bit offended that you assumed that dads would not be working hard in the kitchen on Thanksgiving
They
Day.
do. You're correct. Men do cook, and they do
I
help.
won't. But I am saying your assumption.
You're standing up for the millions of men out there
who are going to be slaving over a hot turkey.
Right.
They will. You're right. Parents will be distracted. That's for sure.
I want pictures, Ed.
Pictures, or it didn't happen.
You want pictures of Ed and the lazy boy? Is that what you want, Fred?
Just one more question. This petition has really taken off.
Yes.
You've had interviews with the mainstream media?
Newsmax this morning, and tomorrow Victory News, both televised.
So NBC didn't call you?
Of course not.
CBS didn't call you?
Of course not.
Oh.
I noticed.
Haven't heard a word from them.
I noticed that Daily Mail picked it up.
They did in the UK. They sure did.
And Newsweek and some others.
I think Fox did too, didn't they?
They
Fox
did.
Yeah.
Yes, you alerted me of that the other day.
All right. Thanks, Monica.
Thanks
Appreciate
for having me.
And you may not be able to stop it this time, but maybe this will be a warning, and maybe next year those who put the parade together will back off and return it to its family-friendly roots and not allow this to happen in front of children all across America. Thank you, Monica.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Monica Cole joining us. You're listening to Today's Issues. You know what, Allison, my wife, and I have enjoyed after the Macy's Day Parade? I want to say the Macy's Day Parade's aired on multiple networks.
I think it has been on CBS in the past.
I think it's on CBS and NBC.
At the simultaneously?
Yeah, but not the. One of them will be 2 blocks down.
Oh,
showing
okay.
You'll see Snoopy come by 5 minutes later on that kind of thing.
Right.
But I think both of them cover that parade. I don't think somebody
because they can make their own commentary about the
right. So, but anyway, I think it's on NBC. Immediately following that is this dog show. What about
Best in Show or
it's the something? It's the National Dog Show, where they parade these dogs around, show them off.
National Dog Show hosted by John O'Hurley on NBC.
You guys don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I usually feature the winner of the dog show.
The Kennel Club of Philadelphia.
It's the Kennel Club of Philadelphia. But they'll show all kind of different dog breeds.
Is it the competition?
Pretty interesting, yeah, competition. No, they're not doing the dog Olympics or nothing, but
well,
they're not dogs that they're swimming against each other. I'm talking about they just parade around and look pretty.
I think I have seen some of those. I really like the synchronized dog walking. Yeah. Where you have like the dachshunds walking and then they'll spin simultaneously.
Right there. Dachshunds are wiener dogs for those that might be more familiar with that term.
I tell you, we have a Maltese. Allison and I have a Maltese, about 11 pounds, but we keep the Maltese hair short. But these Maltese that are in competition like this,
right?
They have like 2 feet of hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, reaches right down to the ground, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm thinking, who does this? You have to keep that groomed every day.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sure these dogs are very pampered.
They always bring out that one dog that looks like a mop. That's just like really long haired, like gray dreadlock type hair strands. It's just really, it looks like a mop.
Yeah.
I don't know what breed it is, but.
Anyway, I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Don't they on Super Bowl Sunday, they have all day long, it's just cameras on puppies. You ever seen this? The Puppy Bowl. And the puppies are just running around and playing with each other.
On TV?
On TV.
Animal Planet.
It's like Animal Planet
I think one year they had cats instead of dogs, but either way.
Yeah, what about if you're a cool cat?
Well, you know.
Cool cat. Why'd you look at me when you said that?
Anyway, all right, we're gonna take a break right here. Let's take our break early. That just a minute or two early. Some of those dogs, they come around and you say that's a face only a mama could love.
I think bulldogs are just one of the ugliest
Choose your words
dogs.
cautiously.
Do you have a bulldog?
No, but I am one.
I'm not talking about the football team.
Okay, you're talking about bulldogs in actuality.
Yeah, when you say only a face,
you're saying bulldogs are dog ugly?
Yeah, I think so.
And by that we mean dog. Yeah,
dog.
Yeah, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
That's not what you just said.
We'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues on AFR. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Back more than 2,300 years ago, a preacher wrote these words: "My soul is bereft of peace. I have forgotten what happiness is." Well, there are millions of people who are seeking and searching for what the preacher had forgotten: happiness. More than 2,000 years later, another man by the name of Charles Farrar Brown made a famous statement concerning happiness. This is what he said. Now listen carefully, because this is good advice. "Let us all be happy and live within our means," he wrote, "even if we have to borrow the money to do it." And you'd be surprised at the number of people who are pursuing this elusive quality called happiness by following Brown's humorous advice. This statement seems odd, but has a world of truth in it. The most unhappy people in the world are those trying the hardest to be happy. We Americans annually spend billions and billions of dollars searching for this magic, evasive thing called happiness. Dr. Gallup, not the one who's living today, but his father, the fellow who had a way of finding the mood of the public, took a poll on happiness at one time. He found that the most unhappy people were those who frequented the taverns. How odd that seems. I was under the impression that people went to the honky-tonks to have a good time. Could it be by some strange quirk that a good time and deep-seated happiness are not the same thing? The great truth of life is that happiness comes as a byproduct. The best way in the world to miss happiness is to pursue it directly, to go searching for it in every dark bar and every tipping of the glass. Dr. Austin Fox Riggs once said, "Happiness is a byproduct of successful living. Happiness is a byproduct of holiness," or if you prefer a less religious word, just use the word wholeness. Holiness and wholeness, they both mean the same thing and bring you to the same place. Happiness is the result of an inner state, not outer security. Happiness comes not from without, but from within. Betty Barton, who had been paralyzed because of an automobile accident, once wrote for Life magazine these words: "We are suffocated so with things and with distractions that the real pursuit of happiness is impossible. Happiness is primarily an inner state, an inner achievement." And so it is. Happiness isn't the goal of life. Holiness is. Seek first the kingdom of God, Jesus said. Seek first the kingdom of God. Don't go after happiness or you'll miss it. Seek to do God's will and live by His plan, and happiness will come without your seeking it. This theme of matching happiness and holiness is one as old as the ages. "Happy is the man who takes refuge in the Lord," said the psalmist. Jesus, in His Sermon on the Mount, gave 9 ways to be happy. We call them the Beatitudes. You'll find them in the 5th chapter of Matthew in the Bible. I suggest you learn and live them. We spoke of Dr. Gallup in his happiness poll. He also had this observation to make. Our survey showed that the most happy people are those who have had a real religious experience. 'Tis true. Seek first the kingdom. After that comes happiness.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew 19, verse 14.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on this Thursday, November the 16th. Tim, Ed, Fred, and Chris. If you want to send your resume in or be a co-host on this show, you must have a 1-syllable name. We don't even consider 2- and 3-syllable names.
Right.
For this show. And you call that name discrimination if you want to.
That's fine.
But
we're okay with it.
That's what we are.
Right.
Simple men.
Now, I will say this. Your Christian name could be multiple syllables, but you had better have a 1-syllable version.
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Edward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm Timothy.
You're Timothy. So you
Frederick
better have a 1-syllable nickname.
Right. You better be able to reduce it.
Yes.
Yes.
To simplify it here.
Call us small-minded. That's okay. Narrow-minded. Fine. But multiple syllables is too much of a strain for our brains.
Strain for your brains.
Yeah.
We're a basket of 1 syllables.
Okay, so we have a guest now. Ed, why don't you introduce her?
Absolutely. Want to welcome Danya Andreos from Operation Christmas Child, being half Greek. That sounds like a Greek name to me. But Danya, welcome to Today's Issues.
Thanks for having me.
So we have been, for, I don't know, a week and a half, we've been telling our listeners, not just on this show, but across the network, about Operation Christmas Child. I'm guessing most of our listeners have heard of it. Maybe their churches participate in it. But there may be some who have heard about it, been hearing about it for the first time. Tell our listeners about Operation Christmas Child, what it's about, what it's intended to do.
Yeah, Operation Christmas Child is a project of Samaritan's First, and their goal is to send gift-filled shoeboxes to children over 170 countries, especially those that live in disaster and war, to show them God's love in a tangible way.
So, Dania, this is Tim. What's your relationship with Operation Christmas Child? Where does it go back to?
I'm just one out of 209 million children that have received an Operation Christmas Child shoebox since 1993, and I'm just excited to be here and share with you how that impacted my life.
Where?
In the Middle East. In a sensitive country in the Middle East.
In a country in the Middle East, you received one of these shoe boxes?
That's correct, yes.
Yes, and now, how did that impact your life?
So growing up in the Middle East, my family faced two major challenges. The first challenge was persecution. As Christians, we were faced with a lot of persecution and death threats because we followed Jesus and we were sharing our faith with the people around us. And I just remember even in school I was being bullied because I was the only follower of Jesus in my entire school. Now, the second challenge was poverty. My dad worked to provide for my family really, really hard, but it was difficult to even get basic necessities such as school supplies and hygiene items and even our daily food. I remember sometimes my mom bringing before us raw onion and bread to eat because that's all we could put before us on the table. But because of these circumstances, I did not receive a gift ever, not on my birthday or even on Christmas. But my mom always asked me to pray for things that I needed and even wanted. And so as a little girl, I prayed for God to send me my very own toys, while at the same time, there was another need that my family could not afford that we brought to God. And that need was to have a radio. I know you'd appreciate that so much because we wanted to listen to a Christian radio station in the part of the world where Christian resources were very limited. And so as we were praying and waiting, one very special day, we went to church gathering, and I heard that I was going to receive a gift for the very first time in my life. I was so excited. When I opened my shoebox and found school supplies, hygiene items, beautiful toys like a Beanie Baby and a Slinky, I was overjoyed. But the biggest surprise was pulling from the shoebox gift a mini radio.
Wow.
When was this? What year was this?
It was around 1997, 1998.
That gives me chills.
Yeah, a little radio? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, my whole family were in shock that out of millions of children and boxes that go to over 160 countries, God orchestrated for that one to come just to my family.
Talking to Dania. Is that how you pronounce it?
Dania Andreas. Yes.
Dania Andreas. Are you a U.S. citizen now?
I am, and I'm grateful to be on this side and to be serving Jesus on this side and with Operation Christmas Child.
Well, amen. Ed, do you want to
Well, Dania,
wrap it up?
First of all, thank you for your testimony of God's faithfulness and his love for you. Thank you for continuing to serve the Lord. Thank you for the inspiration of your family, standing firm and faithful to Jesus through persecution. Please let our listeners know what they can do to help. If there's still time for them to get a shoebox together, where to go to get information about what to put in it, please go ahead and let our listeners know.
Yes, so this week is National Collection Week. We are collecting shoeboxes until November 20th. And anyone can pack a shoebox. You can take a regular size shoebox and fill it with school supplies, hygiene items, and toys. And there's a list of what you can put and you cannot put. That's on our website, which is SamaritanFirst.org/OCC. And you can have an idea of how to pack your shoebox, and you can also know where to drop it off by putting your zip code in it with you.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of fading out on us. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so did I hear you right? You said slinky?
Yeah, you could put a slinky there. I mean, it was one of my favorites.
In the 90s?
Yeah, you can still buy them.
They were plastic in my day. Yeah, back in the 90s.
Yeah. I
All right. Well, anyway. All right. Thank you. We're kind of losing your signal. Appreciate it very much. And Andreas.
Danya Andreas.
Yeah, Danya. And have a great day. And thanks for being on with us.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
She kind of did fade out there a little bit at the end, so let me give the website
Slinky
again.
Effect.
The Slinky Effect, yes. SamaritansPurse.org/OCC. That's the website to go for more information, where you can drop off your shoebox. SamaritansPurse.org/OCC. A lot of churches do the collection part for you, and maybe your church is doing that as well. But that was a wonderful
That is
testimony.
about, we've been involved, AFR has been involved with this campaign for a number of years now. That's about the second or third time that we've heard a testimony of one of these kids getting a radio and what it meant for their family. Hearing the gospel for the first time, and then the impact that would have on communities. So radio is such a powerful medium. It can reach into areas that otherwise, don't have missionaries, all of those sorts of things. Living in a restricted country, she's from the Middle East somewhere,
right? And
I understand why she wouldn't name the country. She may have relatives that are still there. But the power of radio, and it is one of the items that you can put in the box, is one of these small transistor radios.
Where do you get those?
Small transistor radios. Yeah. You can find them.
Are they at like Walmart or something?
Amazon or something like that. You can get them.
Garage sale.
Yeah. Garage sale. Yes.
You can find them.
You can, but you can get can get them, and it's a toy.
Yeah.
But when the family gets it, I mean, you can dial in as she did. There are Christian radio stations here and there.
Yeah.
Transworld Radio often gets into
now with the app. You can get
on a phone,
like American Family Radio anywhere, but you got to have a cell phone. The other thing I noticed she mentioned, and as you referred to this part of her talk, Fred, she's from she's from a Muslim country, and a lot of Muslim countries don't allow freedom of worship.
That's right,
and freedom for Christians to proselytize, and that's what she was talking about.
Can't even worship in like a group of Christians in private.
I tell you what, until you've lived under that kind of, and that's the way it is probably in 2/3 of the world.
Right.
Not 2/3 of the world are Islamic countries, but 2/3 of the world are either communist, totalitarian, like China,
right,
or they are Muslim countries that don't allow for any kind of other worship. So the religious freedom we experience here in America that we take for granted, is non-existent in, I say 2/3 of the world. I'm just guessing, maybe half the world. You cannot worship freely,
right?
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues. That's the name of this program on the American Family Radio Network. Get your shoeboxes done and get them in, because they got to have time to take them around the world. I would say there are many churches, many churches. There, probably everybody listening to us knows their own church does it,
right?
Or they know a church that does it. Does the Operation Christmas Child Shoebox campaign, and can get the shoe. As you say, Ed, a lot of churches do the pickup. All you got to do is take it to the church.
Take it to the church, and then they take it to the more centralized collection spot. And I think the number of churches is only going to grow because it's an easy and simple way to share the love of Jesus with people all over the world. And God has a way, like in this case with Danya Andreos, of getting the right shoebox to the right person. So,
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues. I'm Tim with Ed and Fred and Chris. Chris, next story.
Well, before I call for it, do we have that clip that we added after the show began? Okay. I have some alarming information to share here from the FBI director, Christopher Wray. He's been appearing before lawmakers for a couple of weeks now talking about national security concerns, especially with the war going on between Israel and Hamas. And Israel, of course, is retaliating for that terrorist attack committed by Hamas back on October 7th this year. FBI Director Wray has been fielding questions from various lawmakers, Democrats and Republicans, as to whether or not we might be facing terrorist attacks or threats here in the United States of America. And FBI Director Christopher Wray did say we are facing threats. We've had threats from various parts of the country. And one of the issues that people are concerned about is the amount of people pouring over the southern border and whether or not some of these people coming here illegally are not Hispanic, but in fact Middle Eastern men that are coming here to do harm to the USA. And I've got some audio here of FBI Director Christopher Wray talking about this very issue. Clip 14.
Well, certainly the group of people that you're talking about are a source of great concern for us. That's why we're aggressively using all 56 of our joint terrorism task forces.
But there's really no way for you to guarantee that Hamas isn't in those.
Well, as you say, there's the unknown unknown and the known unknown. Right. But what I can tell you is that our 56 joint terrorism task forces are working their tails off to make sure that they suss out and identify potential terrorist suspects, whether they're on the watch list or not.
You think that number, that increased number, increases the threat to the American citizens?
I think anytime you have a group of people in the United States that we don't know nearly enough about, that is a source of concern for us.
That's FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Yeah, the initial, what they was referring to was the question about the gotaways.
What is that?
The gotaways are those who have come into this country who have not come through one of our Border Patrol agents. So not only are the ones going through the Border Patrol agents.
Most of them just, as I understand it, just walk up and say, I want to have asylum.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
I need some food and shelter and put me on a bus somewhere.
But there's
but there's those who don't want to go through that process.
That's right. There's also the estimate, and they have a percentage they believe are just coming across the border. They know they're coming across, but they're not registering with everybody. And that was the kind of crux of the question there.
Yeah.
There's a belief, and Christopher Wray, the FBI director, believes there are Hamas representatives in this country right now.
Let me ask you this, Ed. The FBI, that was the FBI director. Wouldn't you assume that the United States is always going to be a potential target of terrorist activity every day, all day, for the rest of our existence? I mean, what's the point of asking him this question?
Well, I think the question was twofold. First of all, do you, by you, Christopher Wray, we mean the FBI, are you aware of current threats? And then second of all, is that threat level increasing because of the openness of the border? So to your point, absolutely. As long as there are people out there, terrorist organizations being funded by Iran, they're probably the most important funder, most influential sponsor of terrorism in the world. They consider us the great Satan, okay, and Israel as the little Satan. As long as that attitude exists in the Muslim community, yes, we're going to have people in our country who want to harm us. The question is, how many of them are there? Where are they? What are they planning to do?
The FBI director is going to tell you that?
And well, that's why he said, I think there's the unknown unknown and the known unknown. So I guess what he means by that is there are unknown threats out there that the FBI does not know about, and there are threats out there that the FBI does know about, but the rest of us don't.
You know what the real question was right there? No, Tim. What was it?
What was it, Tim?
The real question being asked right there, do you think President Biden letting millions and millions and millions of people into the country, and we don't know who they are, where they're going, or what they're about, do you think that increases the likelihood that we'll be a terrorist attack in the U.S., yes or no? And if he could have been honest and answered the question, maybe he did. He would have said, yes, absolutely. That's just common sense.
Of course.
And that's all that needed to be asked. Okay, and then you say next question.
Well, let me give you an example, exactly the point you're making here. When during the summer, we had some time here in Mississippi where the weather was very pleasant, or when the weather turned. I forget, it was the end of August or September or whatever. And so we didn't have the air conditioner on. My wife had the front door open. I said, no, we're not doing that unless you want to kill a snake that comes in here. Okay, that's what I told her. I said, we got to get something else.
Can't just leave the door wide open, even if the weather's nice.
Even if the weather's nice, because we live out in the country, and we do have snakes on our property. I like them. They kill rats and stuff like that, but I don't want them coming inside. And to me, that's what you just said. You got the front door wide open on our southern border.
Right.
Guess what? You're not just letting in a nice breeze. You've got potential predators coming into our country. And we know this because some of those predators, they're not terrorists. They're criminals. They're sex traffickers. They're, drug mules or whatever. But in terms of terrorists, you leave that front door wide open, absolutely, snakes will come in.
I do want to say, for people that want more information on what FBI Director Wray talked about, I've shared 3 things on the Today's Issues Facebook page: an ABC story about what he talked about, a Fox story on the gotaways specifically, and if you really want to spend a few hours watching it, the C-SPAN hearing featuring FBI Director Wray and Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas of Homeland Security. That's on the Facebook page as well.
But you never, when they ask the FBI director Congress questions about heightened levels of threat, I'm just thinking to myself, I don't want to ever hear an FBI director go, no, we're kind of taking it easy right now because threat level's down, and I've told guys just take off a few days and go to the beach with their family and come back when when we raise the threat level. So is that to answer your question, Mr. Congressman?
Listen,
who answers questions like that?
I with all the criticism we have leveled against people like Christopher Wray, others in the Justice Department, which from the top levels in the Biden administration has tried to weaponize the Justice Department, there have not been terrorist attacks that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, not on U.S. soil.
Not on U.S. soil. So the FBI, in terms of its rank and file members, appears to be doing a really good job trying to find these bad actors and keep them from harming American citizens. So we do want to give credit where credit is due.
Right. And that's kind of surprising, actually, because this is a country of 330 million people, and we're an open society, and people come and go into our country all the time from around the world, and they're even, to think we've had no real major attack in a long time anywhere in the country that I can think of.
Yeah, not that we could. There has been some suspicion.
They thwart them that you don't know about it probably a lot of times. Don't you think?
That's what I'm guessing. So because we are hated, and we are especially hated by these Muslim terrorist groups, and because we are an open society, you think, well, there have to be terrorist cells here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, Fred.
I think they can be doing other things other than violence, terrorist attacks. They can be doing things like getting on university campuses and doing propaganda work.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of that has been going on. Also, what we have seen reports about, they can get involved with legitimate businesses and raising money for Hamas and Hezbollah. Yeah. So they can be doing that kind of thing right now. Mm-hmm. And But I believe a terrorist attack is coming. I don't want it, but I believe a terrorism attack is coming.
Like when?
It could happen anytime. Could happen in a month. Could happen in a year. I just believe we have been left so vulnerable by these open border. It's not just the southern border. Now we're getting reports of the increase of illegals on our northern border as well.
Yeah.
So it's been open season since Joe Biden became president.
Right. Yeah. Ramaswamy did warn about the northern border concern in the most recent debate. We'll see whether or not that's brought back up again in December when they re-meet.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. We got 5 minutes.
Yes, I have a story out of Loudoun County, Virginia, where a high-profile and well-funded Democratic prosecutor there in Northern Virginia who pursued progressive reforms and drew criticism from Republicans, she conceded defeat yesterday in her re-election bid. This is a lady whose name is Buddha Bibijarab. If I said that correctly, I'll share the AP story in a moment.
Say it 3 times fast.
Buddha Bibijarab.
Okay.
I would be careful.
Bibaraj.
Okay, yes,
it may be Bibaraj. Either way, she is a Democrat. She is the prosecutor there in Loudoun County, and she conceded defeat yesterday. What's interesting, and this is kind of a David versus Goliath story here. I know that's a cliche often used in election stories, but to my point that I'm trying to make here, the Republican spent $70,000 on his campaign. She had $1.1 million plus, and he beat her.
Is she one of these Soros?
Oh, yes.
She is one of the Soros-funded ones.
Okay, then in Loudoun County, that's in Virginia. That's
Very
Northern
liberal.
Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Democrat or Republican county?
Well,
I think that's blue.
Democrats have had control.
Okay. But even what the point is, she must have been. She's re-election.
Yes,
she
was
must have been
running for
so
re-election.
soft on crime that even the Democrats who live there said, no, "We don't want that anymore."
Well, I'll tell you what. Her most famous case. She is the one that prosecuted that dad in Loudoun County that stood up to defend his daughter, who was sexually assaulted by a transgender in the washroom.
So she went after him?
She went after him, and he was convicted, but he was pardoned by Governor Youngkin.
Yes, in recent weeks. Now, I've got some audio here from a guy named Jeff Katz. He's a radio personality in Richmond, Virginia, and he was talking to us, and he said that situation with the Loudoun County schools really woke people up to liberalism and leftist prosecutors. Clip 9.
As these things happened in the schools, all of a sudden people started waking up, and there were a lot of people who were absolutely outraged that the Loudoun County school system had shuffled around a boy in a skirt who had then gone on to assault sexually a couple of different girls. This prosecutor that was just defeated went and prosecuted the father of one of the victims, and that galvanized a lot of people. And even though it was a very close election, the sentiment certainly is that the Soros-financed prosecutors should probably take a hike.
He also mentioned that Loudoun County elected what he described as a conservative, very pro-law enforcement sheriff. So Loudoun County may be turning a corner.
Listen, some of these big cities that are ruled by liberals, the citizens are getting tired of the soft on crime approach. Remember the DA out in San Francisco was recalled or voted recalled, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
About a year ago. I think it's too little, too late. But I'm just saying, in Oakland, California, you've got the NAACP trying to get rid of the DA there because the DA's a Soros funded liberal. So you got a historically black civil rights organization saying we got to reclaim our streets. They said we need more police, and we're losing absolute control of our city. So I'm just saying to you, there are Democrats, citizens who are like in Loudoun County who are reacting to this let the criminals walk free sort of attitude out there. We'll be back in 5 minutes with more of Today's Issues.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
The Bible makes it clear that God is the one who gives life. It's a gift that we shouldn't take for granted. Unfortunately, there are those who have a different view of life's value. They would fight for the right to kill an unborn baby and sneer at anyone who believes that human life begins at conception. Life is precious to God, so let's continue to defend the sanctity of life. A reminder from AFA.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The Senate voted last night to pass a bill keeping the government funded at least through the holidays. But the new bill has put off Republican attempts to rein in spending until next year. Aisha Hosni has more reaction from Capitol Hill.
They've been in control of the House for 11 months now, and no real spending cuts signed into law. This bill really just keeps the status quo going. It keeps spending to all departments, including the DOJ, at fiscal year 23 levels. A lot of folks here call that Nancy Pelosi levels. There are no pay-fors, no cuts, and that's why Democrats are gloating. The Speaker, Mike Johnson, is notching this as a big win. He says it prevents the end-of-year Christmas tree spending, as they call it, because this bill actually expires after the new year. But it looks like some conservatives are big mad.
Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher is giving his feelings about the meeting between President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping in San Francisco Wednesday.
Thus far, all we have are promises of future talks and potentially new pandas coming back to the D.C. Zoo. I'm afraid that's incredibly disappointing because we've taken our foot off the gas when it comes to things like sanctioning Chinese officials for egregious human rights abuses.
A multi-million-dollar tech mogul is allegedly bankrolling some of the groups behind pro-Hamas protests across the country. C.B. Cotton has more from New York City.
The Free Press reporting tech entrepreneur Neville Roy Singham and his wife Jody Evans funneled more than $20 million to a group called the People's Forum starting in 2017. The People's Forum, headquartered in Manhattan, has pro-Palestinian signs plastered everywhere. The group proclaiming to advocate for marginalized communities. The Free Press reporting the deep-pocketed couple have long been tied to social justice or Marxist movements. A New York Times investigation linking the tech entrepreneur to at least 4 nonprofits peddling Chinese propaganda.
Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is now walking back her claim that all people should have their identities verified while using social media. Ashley Webster has more.
Haley have proposed that social media companies ban people from posting anonymously online for national security reasons, saying that all social media users must be verified. It was in response, by the way, to a rise in anti-Semitism, but it immediately triggered backlash, especially among conservatives who said you just can't squash free speech in any form, especially through government regulations. Haley's presidential primary rival, Ron DeSantis, jumped on it, calling Haley's proposal dangerous and unconstitutional and compared it to the Chinese Communist government. Haley has since softened her stand, but recent polls show DeSantis starting to perhaps slip a little, while Haley closing in on second place.
And finally, a well-known ministry is taking on another project.
American Family Association is going on the offense when it comes to corporations. AFA Vice President Walker Wildman.
Instead of just complaining about these corporations, it's time to do something about it of meaningful significance.
First up is Apple. Wildman says they've been putting their thumb on the scale in their app store, taking off certain apps that they don't like for various reasons.
And it's all been very subjective.
Jerry Boyer of Boyer Research is partnering with AFA on this effort by working on a shareholder ballot proposal that will ask Apple to be transparent and clear about how it makes its policies.
They took down a Bible app and a Quran app. So we're not just pleading special, case for the Christians. It's a plea for religious liberty in general. And their argument is, well, the Chinese government told us to do it.
Boyer points out that it was not that long ago that the American government wanted Apple to unlock the iPhone of a terrorist and met resistance from Apple.
There's nothing that says Apple has to listen to the tyrannical government of China. And even if you bought that argument, China didn't force them to take down the app for the Manhattan Declaration. That was here in America. And it was basically Christians who believe in the traditional Christian doctrine of marriage and the sanctity of life and in religious liberty. They're taking down very mainstream Christian doctrine.
Through Jerry Boyer, AFA also plans to ask Apple if it has ever deplatformed someone on the left. Or is it only Christians and other conservatives that Apple says go too far and cross the line? I'm Chris Woodward.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
Forget about Facebook.
The last 10 days we've been banned twice, and is unbanning a word?
They put us under the ban. Christians and conservatives
don't need you, YouTube.
Banned one day, banned again.
AFR programs are now live streaming on the AFA Streaming app. Now you can get shows like Today's Issues straight from the source.
Put back on the next.
Just say unbanned.
Unbanned.
Just search AFA Streaming or visit streaming.afa.net to sign up. Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back to the last 25 minutes of Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. We have this show available on podcast form, so if you missed the show, Today's Issues, and you want to listen, go to afr.net and click on podcast. And then Today's Issues will come up. Click on there, and you can listen to the show on demand. So it's very simple, very easy to do. Listen on the internet to this show if you can't listen to it live. All right, Today's Issue is the name of the program. I'm Tim Wildman with Ed Battagliano and Fred Jackson. And now Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Good morning.
Is in studio. Good morning, Steve.
How you doing?
Doing well yourself?
I'm well.
You doing your Christmas choir this year?
We've already done we did a concert Thursday and a concert a week ago Sunday. So
now what choir are you in now?
It's a choral group, not a choir now. Church has a choir.
What's the difference?
Columbus Choral Society. Well, we tend to sing more classical, difficult music as opposed to I'm just
going to be honest. This sounds kind of like an uppity kind of attitude towards choirs. We're not a church choir.
A little bit.
We're a choral group.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, Ed, in sports, there's major leagues and there are minor leagues.
No, that's true. But there's no question about which group is which. What I'm saying is there may be some church choirs. If you listen to the church choir and you listen to this choral group, you're going to know the difference. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I think that's what Steve is saying without saying it, because we don't want to hurt his fellows.
Okay, since you want to defend the choral group, would you go listen to a choral group?
I would
sing the classical music.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like that in small doses. I'm not a big listen to a 2-hour concert choral guy, but
we had such a good concert. Oh my gosh!
All right, what'd y'all sing? Good. Tell me your lineup of songs.
All right, so we had a thing called Salmo 150. It's
Salmo 150. I ate some bad chicken once, and
can I do this? Can I hold off on that? I don't have a program in front of me, and there was a lot of songs.
Sure, bring it.
Can I bring it Monday?
Why don't you bring a clip?
I'll bring a clip Monday.
Bring a clip. We'll play a clip from your concert.
I'd love to do that.
That's when Tim and Ed won't be here.
Oh, that's right. We're off Monday.
Are you really?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll still have Christmas in front of us when we get back from Thanksgiving Day break.
It wasn't necessarily Christmas themed, but it was our fall concert.
Okay.
And it really went well.
Do you have a Christmas concert planned?
No,
okay.
That's it. We have 2 a year.
Okay.
So you celebrated fall?
We didn't. We sang. We sang about
what?
About about
fall.
About fall.
about leaves falling and pumpkins.
The great pumpkin.
Well, one of them was Psalm 150.
Psalm 150.
Oh, Psalm 150.
Psalm 150.
I thought you said Salma.
Salmo. The title is Salmo 150. It's in Spanish. It's in Latin, but
I think they sang the classical version. You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Y'all mock if you want, but man.
Let me ask you this.
Fall
yes, sir.
Is
this you have to try out for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, whatever you were driving at, Tim, I think that was you just answered.
That's your difference.
That's one of the difference.
That's your difference right there. You had a big difference.
Yes, it is.
You got to try out for this choral group.
Yeah.
Church choir. They'll take anybody.
Just about take anybody.
Having been on both ends of that equation, I can assure you there's a difference.
And, of course, for all the Andy Griffith fans, there's a great episode with Barney Fife being the one person who couldn't sing in the choir.
Right.
Anyway, I don't want to go down that road. But
how'd they get him out of there?
Well, they gave him a microphone, and they told him that it was a special microphone, and if he had to sing so low that the rest of the people couldn't hear him, and then they had a guy behind the curtain that sang. It's a great episode because
Was
Barney
it Jim Neighbors? Because Jim Neighbors could sing.
I don't remember if it was Jim,
Okay.
if it was the Jim Neighbors character, or if it was the Rafe Hollister. I can't remember. Anyway, but it was so funny because Barney was basically mouthing the words, and you heard this big booming voice, and Barney's eyes get wide, and he just starts to gesture like it's him doing it. It was
that's funny.
It was a funny episode.
Hey, Steve. What you
All
got?
right.
Yeah, bring us down. Pop the bubble.
No, I want to give some kudos out to our new House Speaker, Mike Johnson, who is taking a little bit of heat because he's a real Christian. He's a believer, and he means it. So there's a couple things I want to do. I want to read you something from Jonathan Turley. I read you guys this in our story meeting this morning, and then I want to play you a clip. Jonathan Turley, who he admits he likely does not share Johnson's views on legislating morality, as he says, or separation of church and state, but he has always found Johnson to be an honest man. This is what he wrote. Many were aghast that Johnson used his first speech as speaker to thank God and to say that he believes that God has a plan for him, that this is a view shared by millions of religious Americans, and it's not the first time a politician has made such a public expression of devotion. Bill Clinton used to invoke God and salvation continually as he set physical records for debauchery. Even after his Monica Lewinsky scandal, Clinton would rally liberals to politics and political involvement dictated by faith. The problem with Johnson is that he actually seems to mean it. Mike Johnson, I'm feeling my voice here. Mike Johnson was on CNBC, and the host at CNBC, I'll take that. Thank you. Just hand me a cough drop. The host at CNBC was kind of incredulous about this whole thing, too. Let's listen to cut 11.
I think it was the first day that you had been sworn in. It appeared that you were praying on the floor of Congress with a number of other congressmen. And there is a question about the separation of church and state. We often talk on this show about folks, about whether religion should play a role inside a company, whether people should be allowed to pray inside a company. It's one thing to pray outside and to have your faith, and there's a great importance in that. But how do you think about that, and how do you think about the public perception of that?
The separation of church and state is a misnomer. People misunderstand it. Of course, it comes from a phrase that was in a letter that Jefferson wrote. It's not in the Constitution. And what he was explaining is they did not want the government to encroach upon the church, not that they didn't want principles of faith to have influence on our public life. It's exactly the opposite. Washington said, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. And John Adams came next, and he said, our Constitution is made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate with government of any other. They knew that it would be important to maintain our system. And that's why I think we need more of that. Not an establishment of any national religion, but we need everybody's vibrant expression of faith.
I think I'm listening to Stephen McDowell or David Barton.
Yeah,
there.
because he was exactly accurate in everything he just said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the mainstream media imploded, of course. They couldn't.
They're still doing it today. I mean,
that anchor displayed his ignorance.
Right.
You know, the separation of church and state, the left says, yeah, it's in the Constitution. Well, Johnson said, no, it's not.
Right. One headline said, technically, Johnson is correct. It's not in the Constitution, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the part of the reason why, and I almost feel bad for people like this anchor, because they have been raised to believe that separation of church and state is in the Constitution, or at the very least, because it was cited by the Supreme Court. And I don't remember if this was the 1947 ruling or the 1963 ruling, 61, any of those, but they cited the phrase separation of church and state. The Supreme Court is the one who misused Jefferson's phrase and cited separation of church and state as erecting a wall against religion's influence in terms of the government, when, as Speaker Johnson correctly says, Johnson meant it in exactly the opposite way, because it was written to the Danbury Baptist Association in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. They were worried that their faith would be restricted because they were not a part of the established church in Connecticut. Jefferson said, no, there is a wall protecting you from the government.
Right. Yeah, and that's the context. You know, one of the bigger issues here is the heathens in our society, they want the right to put their worldview into statutes. They want the right to put their worldview into law. But a Christian comes along like Mike Johnson and says, I believe in Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. He said in that initial speech from the floor of the House that he said, I think we're all here by God's design. He looked around, Democrats, Republicans, we're all here by God's design. I believe in that kind of God. But they don't want his point of view to dictate anything into law. Of course, he doesn't want to impose a theocracy on America. He was very clear about that. But he does want for Christians to have the freedom to express their viewpoint and not be demonized.
You don't check your faith at the door. Yes. One other thing about Mike Johnson that I think is impressive, we've been talking about Hunter Biden and the millions that he's brought in, and Joe Biden, how did he get all those luxury homes? And today the House is going to be voting on expelling a member, George Santos, a Republican who was accused of using bunches of campaign funds for luxury items and stuff. Mike Johnson is reported lives paycheck to paycheck. Mike Johnson does not have a retirement savings. He doesn't own a single stock, doesn't have assets at all. He has less than $5,000 in his bank account. He's got a somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 mortgage, a home equity loan, and a personal loan.
And he was initially mocked, for not having money.
Could you imagine Joe Biden living in the White House and needing the White House's $200,000 a year to live?
Right. Well,
I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's the real deal, and I do not approve of either Republicans or Democrats using their position in Washington, D.C. in order to get rich. I don't mind them prospering if they play by the same rules as everybody else, but it seems clear from way out here in the sticks, so to speak, way far away from Washington, D.C., that there are far too many members of the political class in D.C. using inside information, getting...
you should write a song about that. Rich
man
north of Richmond. I think that'd be a good title for it.
Hey, I think I'll do that.
Maybe I'll arrange it for my choral
I was going to say, I'll find a good choral group to do it. Anyway, so I'll get off my hobby horse here, but Mike Johnson seems like the real deal. And Jonathan Turley, the law professor from George Washington Law School, I think, I have no idea what his religious background is, but he at least sees the sincerity of the faith of the current speaker now.
How do people know about his personal finances? Do you have to report all that?
You have to disclose.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So he disclosed, I don't have any money.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Well, I think he disclosed his financial state, and then everyone else drew the conclusion that you just drew. He lives from paycheck to paycheck.
I would just put a little box here saying donations accepted.
Yes. That's probably illegal.
Oh, okay.
So that's why some members of Congress
well, you could put another box there just for transparency and say, we'll do favors in return for cash. What about that, Ed?
That's right.
Would that work?
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they do anyway.
Have cash, we'll vote.
There are... That's the way of the world. I mean, you have ethics, which, at least we're still supposed to have ethics in Washington.
There are rules.
Yeah, there are rules that you have to follow, which is set to prevent buying off favors from congressmen. But but let's face it, that's why a lot of congressmen, be they Democrat or Republican, they get donations. A corporation will write a check to the Democrat campaign and to the Republican campaign, just in case whoever wins, so they can have an entree to that congressman's or senator's office. But that's the way it's always been. I think
it's in the Bible.
And there's and there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's just that when you get in trouble is when you give personal favors, or you give somebody advantages that another person wouldn't have just because they gave money to your campaign.
Well, yeah, but you're not saying there's nothing wrong with taking money to vote a certain way.
No, I agree with that. No, I agree with that. I'm just saying that a lot of there's nothing wrong with advocating for your position,
right?
And that's why companies and even individuals. Well, let's face it, Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, former President Trump, he gave money for years to the Democrats.
Right.
He gave money to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Why do you do that? You might say, why did somebody like Donald Trump? Because not when she ran against him.
Right.
But before that, because he would tell you, Donald Trump would tell you, when I was a businessman in New York, we gave to a lot of Democrats because we had to have favor with them.
Right.
Because I'm a New York businessman, I got to give money to Democrats.
And they run the local government.
Right. So you may disagree with that, but that's what he'll tell you the reason for those campaign donations. So I'm just saying that's the way of the world, like it or not. Go ahead, Steve.
All right. Let's go to the Palestinian war, the Israel war. Israel's been taking a lot of heat from the world. You've seen all the pro-Palestinian protests. Because they say that the world says that they're doing a genocide, they're bombing hospitals, they're bombing schools, they're killing children. They don't have to do this. They're an evil occupation, state. So CBS has a reporter, as most networks do, in the region to cover the war, and the spokesperson for the IDF, he's a general in the IDF, took them to an active war zone, to a hospital in Gaza. And he says, we're going to go to this hospital. It's an active war zone. There was rockets and bombs and guns going off about 100 yards down the street. And so they were kind of taking their cover, but they had cleared the basement of this hospital. And they took them down into the hospital. And I want you to hear what this is CNN reporting. What the first voice you'll hear will be the general, the press liaison from the IDF. And then you'll hear the CNN report, cut 7.
We do not know that the hospital is entirely clean. We do not know. We only entered to this area which was suspected because we were being fired.
Gari leads us through a warren of basement corridors to this room.
This was the armory, okay?
This was the Hamas armory.
Yeah.
He shows us a few rusting guns and some explosives. These guns alone have potentially huge implications for Gaza's hospitals and Israel's apparent push to take control of them.
The International Committee for the Red Cross say that hospitals are given special protection under international humanitarian law in a time of war. But if militants store weapons there or use them as a base of fire, then that protection falls away.
And nearby, possible evidence hostages could have been held here. More evidence, Hagari says, points towards Hamas and possible hostage presence below the hospital.
So what we've been told is that, and what we've seen is that Israel is telling everybody in a particular place, we're going to bomb this building. It has Hamas leaders in it, or it's a store of weapons or whatever. We're going to bomb it. We'll give you 30 minutes to get out, get to safety, and then the building's gone.
Right.
And but Hamas, I've seen videos of them literally shooting people trying to leave an area because Hamas is using human shields. He's using this hospital and children and women and men who are in the hospital and then when Israel takes out the weapons cache and happens to get some people that live that are in the hospital, that's a publicity coup for Hamas.
So what do you think about the fact that we talked about this in our story meeting? You initially brought this story to us in part because you were surprised that CNN was running this story. Why do you think CNN, which I would initially have thought would cover only the pro-Palestinian side of this war, it looks to me like they are putting some of the blame back on Hamas for some of the deaths of innocent civilians and with the military operations against hospitals. It's kind of surprising that CNN's doing something like this.
To some degree, I believe that the Hamas-Israel split has split the media as well. I mean, this does not fall among traditional political lines. Republicans and Democrats, a lot strong. In fact, wasn't it Schumer that was at the pro-Israel rally?
Right.
So I think it does cut along different lines. It is responsible journalism. Sometimes CNN mistakenly commits journalism, but
and this is how CNN came into existence.
Yes,
was that kind of reporting?
This was their forte.
Yeah. All right, what else you got?
All right. So the IRS is at it again.
At what?
The Biden IRS has launched an audit into a conservative group that has been doing research for Republicans on Biden judicial nominees. So the name of this group is the American Accountability Foundation, and they have just been notified that they are under audit from the IRS. Now, this is the group that gave Republicans some background info on nominees like Gigi Sohn, all these radical nominees. This group goes and does research and finds facts and posts and, this gets all the data on these people and feeds it to the Republicans so that they have some idea of who's in front of them. And now, lo and behold, they're getting audited. And a lot of people are saying that's not a coincidence.
Well, let me see that. I probably know half these people. Walker's probably on this committee.
So, are you looking at that?
This goes back to Tea Party days, folks. Remember the Tea Party? Lois Lerner?
Yes, under the Obama administration.
Under the Obama administration?
Yeah.
This is a tactic that they use. Yes.
I would just say, I agree. I would just say keep your house in order.
Right.
Too, especially if you're a conservative group, because, if the IRS comes knocking and wants to do an audit, there's nothing you can do to stop them. In fact, you should cooperate. But if you have your house in order, we've been audited many times over our existence here at AFA, but we always got a clean bill of health from the IRS. They said, "Hey, thanks for."
We have an outside company, auditing firm who audits us, makes sure that we are
done
compliant
that for a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah,
that's a yearly thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but to Steve's point, I mean, back to the Lois Lerner days, back during the Obama administration, a lot of these federal government agencies, you got to keep an eye on them because they're bent toward being discriminatory against conservative groups.
Yes.
And I would say this too. I certainly agree you should keep your house in order. However, I would say it's probably possible for the IRS to find something on anyone, and it can become a type of government harassment because you do have to take a lot of man hours sometimes to get all the material they're requesting. And if they are only doing it to conservative groups, that's problematic because it's an added burden on conservatives that liberal groups and quote-unquote progressive groups don't have to deal with, and that's putting the thumb on the scale. So I hope if this continues and it's not being done to liberal groups, that Republicans in the House might call for an investigation.
Yep.
We're out of time, fellas.
I think that's it.
I'm going to go check out the nearest choral group, see if I can
you
join.
Can try out.
Yeah.
How do they
I
tell
have a
you
terrible voice.
How do they tell you if you don't make it, Steve?
You either don't get a letter saying our first rehearsal is, or you get a letter saying thank you for auditioning. We wish you success in the future.
I just know when I tried out for high school, junior high and high school basketball, you had tryouts, and then they posted the names of those who made it on the door of the gym.
Yeah. Right.
And if your name ain't on there,
well, what you do is you get a
play
letter.
Church league ball.
You get a letter that says thanks for trying out, and you might want to check out your local church choir.
Right.
Or you get a letter saying, "Dear choral tryout guy, are you kidding us?
You putting us on?
You need to take up knitting. You sure can't sing sincerely."
Right.
You know, one of the most significant men